It's a long way to the top. But if you take it step by step, you'll make it. Let's climb that VO ladder with our hosts, Troy Holden and Will Vincent.
And welcome back to the Voice Over Ladder. Troy Holden here near Nashville, Tennessee. And that guy?
Hello! Will Vincent here in Minnesota.
Hello, Will! How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, so after being back off vacation, you recovered. But I got to ask the million-dollar question. Was it hard to come back home? Because some people go to Florida and they're like, I'm tired of it, I'm ready to go home. What about you?
Yes and no. I was ready to come home. I wanted to, sleep in my own bed and, whatever. The place we stayed was very nice. And the bed was comfortable, but it was small. It was a queen size versus the king that we have at home. And but I don't get to go sit on the beach every day when I'm at home. And that's what I did in Florida.
Right.
Every day.
Right. It's a different pace.
I'm ready to go back, but I'd kind of like to just take all of my stuff and go and then just stay there.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. It is nice. It's a different pace. My family years ago, my dad had a place in Panama City, and I would go down and stay a week at a time and usually go sometimes 3-4 different times a year. And the beauty of that was you could leave stuff there. So when you left home, all you took was your shaving stuff maybe, and you got down there and your clothes were there, and it was great. And I was the same way. But like you, I was usually ready to get home. There's always there's something about home. And if that becomes home, then, okay, I could go there and stay. I kind of like it.
Sure.
It's just a different atmosphere, totally different atmosphere.
It was a long, long drive.
Oh, my gosh. I do not see how you guys made that drive and without an overnight coming back. That had to be extremely tiring. Yeah.
Yeah, it was tough. Yeah. We stopped. So we switched off. I drove about 3/4 of it. My wife drove about 1/4 of it. There was one time that I needed a break, and she was tired too. So we pulled over at a truck stop or whatever and took a nap for an hour and a half.
Yep. Got to do that sometimes.
Whatever.
You just have to.
We didn't have to pay for a hotel, and then we ended up with a full day home before I had to start the day job again. So that was good.
Yeah. That's always a boost. It's always hard to come back home the night before and get everything, drag it out, and you got all these dirty clothes and all that. Oh my gosh, yeah, it's terrible. Hey, we
didn't have that either because we stayed. It was Airbnb, so it was an actual house. They had washer and dryer there, so everything was already washed. We came home. The only thing that we had that was dirty really was like what we had on. Yeah,
that helps. That definitely helps. You always hate coming home from vacation and having to start working on a bunch of stuff, because you almost need 24 hours to catch up from vacation. It's not easy. Hey, today we're going to talk about failure and why some people that go into voiceover fail, and some people do. And we want to hit on some of the reasons maybe why people fail, and maybe this will help keep some of you from failing, because we don't want you to fail. We want you to climb the ladder with us. And as we move from the bottom rung to the next rung and all of those that are way up ahead, we want to pull everybody go with us. And there's room for everybody. We're seeing that every week. There's a ton of work out there. And somebody was asking me the other day, just maybe had gotten started or was looking into getting started. And they said, well, how can there be so many people getting in it and enough work? I said, think about the content that is out there now compared to 5 years ago. There's all these companies doing all this content. There are all these YouTube creators and all these people doing all this content that need voiceover. It's amazing. It may not be the high dollar stuff, but there's plenty of stuff to cut your teeth on because there's so many people creating content right now.
Yeah. Well, and even high dollar stuff, there's plenty of that to go around too.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
I believe that.
10% of all the people, or probably less than that, 5%, 2%, whatever it is, are doing 90% of that work, all the promo work and the real high dollar, ads and stuff. But there's still room for other people. Just because it has been that way and sort of continues to be that way doesn't mean that some new person might come along and become the new voice of whatever brand.
Absolutely. Heard an interview today about that.
Yeah, especially because, the new thing, in fact, it's really not new anymore, is, conversational. It's not the old announcery hard sell kind of thing. It's, people don't want to be sold to. They don't want to be talked at. They want to be talked with.
Right, 100%. I heard an interview today. I don't remember who it was, but they were talking about they were 62 years old, and he talked about how he can still do the same voice that he did at the age of 30, but he said, it's time for me to let other people have that work. And, that's very formidable of somebody to look at it that way. A lot of people don't. They want to, and he says, I will do voiceover till I die, but I'm trying to do things more in my genre, or I'm trying to do a little less. He said, sure, I love money. Sure, I love to see the checks come in. But I need to help these younger people get in and get this stuff and do it right. So that's really encouraging. It's a good community of people out there. Yes, there are a group of people who feel very old school and they don't like the platforms and they don't like this or that. But it's here to stay whether they like it or not. I just don't see it ever going away. So, there are a few that are saying, yeah, we understand it and we're just going to try to help people. But what we really want to focus on with this is some of the things that we've even talked about in these first, I guess we're pushing 20 episodes. We're getting close. But in these first 17, 18, or whatever it is, a lot of the things we've touched on, and if you're not doing these things, you could be setting yourself up to fail 100%. And the first one that comes to my mind is if you're not setting goals and not trying to work a routine and not tracking and keeping up with things, how do you know what you're doing? And we've talked about voice overview. We've talked about using a spreadsheet. We've talked about these hundreds of things, but if you're not doing any of it and you're still not doing it even after we've told you ought to do it, not because we're the know-it-alls, but it is a known fact that most businesses fail if they have no plan, no targets, and they're not tracking those things.
Right. Well, and we're guilty of it ourselves, right?
Yes.
As recently as I think it was last month, when you got to the end of the month and tallied up your earnings across all the platforms and everything, you were really surprised how well you'd done. I think you said you made at least double what you thought you had.
Right. I didn't realize I had doubled the previous month. I knew I was a little busier, and it's somewhat of what we said last time, it makes you become a business and not a hobby. And if you're treating it that way and you're tracking and you're watching these things, and I still am guilty of, I only put my entries in there once a week. I should do it as they happen, but I don't. And maybe I'll get there, but that's because right now it's a time constraint. I can barely get my auditions in. I can barely get the work done when I get home. We can barely record podcasts. There's other things. At least once a week, I'm going to a workshop pretty much every week. And then by the time I do all that, and I've got a repetitive gig now every Thursday night from 6 to 7:30, it's a paying gig. I guess we call it a voice of God because it's live and you have to be there to do it. So that ties me up another night. So I know normally it's Monday night podcast, Tuesday night, hey, nothing to do. Wednesday night, probably got a thing going on. And now Thursday night with this other live thing, that leaves me Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. And
Thursday's also when we do our regular meetup
that comes in,
too,
and that's why I told these people it has to be 6 to 7:30 because at 8:30 I've got something else. And you run out of time sometimes. So what I have done is built into my schedule on Monday mornings. About 6:30, I come down to my little desk and I run my little report for the last week for every platform, and if I had anything direct, and I put it all in voice overview, and ta-da, I'm caught up. So I can at least see what happened last week and kind of know where I'm at. So it's if I'm not doing that, like you said, I'm not going to know. And then at the end of the month, I'm like, well, did I make any money? How did I do? I'm not sure. Well, now I know. So it makes you feel legit.
Hopefully you'll get to a point where you enter it as you get it, because it is actually a lot faster that way.
I hope so, yeah.
And that's really how it was designed, is to be used. Just keep it open and throw stuff in as it comes. But as long as you're putting it in there, as long as you're keeping track, that's the main thing. But
I still don't do the auditions, but on the other hand, I'm only auditioning pretty much one place right now. So I can go in there and count those up, I guess, and I probably need to start doing that. But I want to make sure I'm not putting my time and effort into just that and tracking when maybe I need to spend that extra 15 minutes on marketing or something else.
Well, but it shouldn't take you that long. It shouldn't take you that long.
No,
so,
it shouldn't.
For example, if all you're doing is tracking, and especially if it's all in one place, if you're just tracking, okay, I did 5 auditions today. I did 8 today. I did 8 yesterday, whatever, right? As you do them, if you tick them off, or the way I do it is I'll sit down and I'll do a block of like 5 or 10 or however many I have available. And once I've done all of those, then I'll go, okay, I'll count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. Okay. And I go over there to Voice Overview and pull up the day and say 7 for voices.com. And then I go to whatever my other platform was, and I did 2 here, so I'll put those 2 in. And it tallies it all up, and you can set a goal of how many auditions you want for the month. It defaults to 100, which is pretty good. And I've hit that for the past several months. And it's good because it keeps track of how many auditions you're doing, and obviously you have to do auditions to get the work other than on Fiverr and Upwork and stuff like that. But, if you're working through an agent, or you're working on voices.com or Voice123 or Planet VO or VO Planet, or one of these other things, you got to audition or you're not going to get a job. And keeping track of how many of those you've done, how many auditions you've done versus how many things you've been booked for, it helps you stay on top of how well you're performing. And if you see that, like, wow, I've sent in 800 auditions over the past 2 months and I've booked once, well, something's probably going on there, right?
Well, that points me to failure.
Your sound probably isn't quite
yes.
right, or your performance sucks.
Right. That's going to point you to the next failure, like you said.
Right. That's when
sound,
you need to
performance. Yeah.
Exactly. That's when you need to look inward and go, okay, what am I doing wrong that I'm not actually getting booked?
Yeah. If you're not involved in some kind of learning path, whether it's workshops or coaching, you are probably going to fail. I don't care how much natural talent you have. I don't care how much acting background you have. This is different. It's a little bit different. The acting background will help you. Oh my gosh, yes. But there are ways you have to deliver this stuff. There are ways you need to stage your auditions and how you read your auditions, or maybe where I was failing on some of this, and until I heard other people do it, when they would read an audition, they might repeat the same line 3 times and leave it in the audition. I had never done that before. And I'm still not comfortable because I want to give one clean take. But I'm hearing people read something and say, it's the best time to buy today. It's the best time to buy today. And they put all 3 takes, bang, 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 right in a row, and then they move on to the next line. And I thought, well, maybe that's okay, because you're giving that person a listen that I can do this 3 different ways real quickly, and here it is, and this is probably a key line. But if you're not learning these things and not getting workshops or coaching or something, yeah, you could be setting yourself up for a long, disappointing deal, because like Will said, you'll be sitting at 800 auditions and no jobs or 1 job. That ratio should be at our level somewhere probably in the 70 to 1. 50 to 1 is fantastic. I've heard some say down in the 40s. I don't know anybody that I've ever talked to that's that low. Most of them are in the 50s, 60s, 70s. But it's difficult, and to get that number down.
And it really depends. I don't think you can really compare those numbers directly to each other, because Some people only audition for the things that they're really pretty sure they're going to get.
Right.
And some people audition for everything.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And, there's a huge difference there. If you're auditioning for 300 things a month versus 50 things a month,
mm-hmm.
That's a huge difference. But if the person who's only auditioning for 50 is killing it and booking like 5 of those 50, they're 1 in 10.
Right.
And you could be doing 300 auditions in a month and booking 2.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. You're still doing decent. You're still getting work. You're doing better than other people who aren't getting any work, I guess is the point. 150 to 1 isn't decent.
It's you're right. These numbers are easily skewed. It's really hard to know. I don't know. Some of it's tough.
I guess like anything, it's so much easier said than done, but try not to get too hung up on the numbers, right?
Right.
Like, I did 500 auditions and I've only booked 3 gigs. True. Actually, it's more than that. What is it? 600. 592. And I've booked 3.
Yeah, but as we've said before, and of course we both started fairly close together on the platform, I can hear the difference in what you were doing week 1 and what you're doing now. Totally different. And we probably even hear it in our own reads. And I noticed today I was reading something. I stopped right in the middle and I thought, I don't even need to audition for this. This doesn't work. And I clicked out of it and left. I wouldn't have done that in January or December. I probably would have sent it on in. And I'm starting to hear things better. It helps.
Yeah, I've had a number of them lately that I feel like I should be able to do it, but for whatever reason, it's just not working for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give it a try maybe 2-3 times, and I'll just go, no, this isn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just archive that opportunity because, waste of time.
Right. So what's some of the other things that are definitely going to take you down the path of you're not going to see growth like you want?
Well, let's see. We've talked about tracking goals, setting and tracking goals, and did we talk about using time wisely?
We have
not. Bit.
A little, but not really specifically.
So, especially if you're working a full-time job, but really, even if you're only doing VO, whatever your situation is, setting up time boxes, and we've talked about this on a previous podcast, setting up time boxes for certain activities that you focus your attention on that activity for your business, because your VO work is a business, is really, really smart. Because if you're not task switching, right? So if you sit down to work and you go, okay, I'm going to check my email, and I've got to audition, and I got to get back to this person, and I should make a phone call, and you're really scattered and you're all over the place. And every time you task switch, it takes time for your brain to shift gears, right? Whereas if you go, okay, I'm going to give myself a half hour to get caught up on email, and you sit down and you set a timer if you need to, just 20 minutes, half hour, go through, and maybe it won't take that long. Maybe you only get 5 emails a day. Who knows? But look and see what emails have come in, if anything needs your attention or needs a response, or you need to follow up with somebody. That's your time to do that. And then set yourself an hour or 2 hours or whatever to do auditions, or to do actual work for things you've been booked on. Set yourself half hour to an hour of time per day, ideally, to do some sort of marketing activity. That could be, sourcing leads. That could be networking through, LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook or whatever it is. Some sort of marketing activity. All these things, there's 101 things you need to do to keep your business going and growing and performing well. And there's only so much time in the day. So setting up time boxes and trying to, don't be too rigid about it, but try to stick into those certain scheduled times. You'll be a lot more efficient. You'll get a lot more done, and you'll be able to stay on top of everything, which is really the key.
Yeah,
until
I agree.
Until you're busy enough and wealthy enough to afford to pay somebody else to do it.
Yeah. And the good thing about a time box is you can move them around according to the day as long as you stick to your task in that box. And what Will said is so accurate. Don't jump around. Oh my God, look, it's an audition in the email. All right, we're going to do auditions at 11:30 today. So put that in your 11:30 box and go do it at 11:30. Don't stop and do it now. Yeah, definitely. And as a part-time person, you can do this same thing. It's just smaller blocks of time. It's not, I mean, it is so much more beneficial to you. That's a really good point. Really good.
And there's apps for this too. Just look out, getting things done, getting it done, productivity apps, stuff like that. You'll find apps for your phone or for the computer, whatever, that help you with scheduling this stuff. And, for example, for the Mac, there's something called OmniFocus, which is really, really, really popular, or it used to be anyway. And it's like categorization of stuff. And so you would say, okay, I've got email things. And so when something comes up outside of your time box, you go, okay, this is an email task. I'm going to throw it in there. And then you stop thinking about it until you get to the next email cycle or audition cycle or whatever it is, right? And you might need to be a little bit flexible on these things because obviously some emails need attention pretty much right away. Sometimes auditions are very time sensitive and you need to jump on them as fast as you can. So be flexible. Don't beat yourself up about it. But some kind of structure is really going to help you stay on top of things.
Yeah, I even, right now, because it's quick and easy, I'm just blocking stuff and setting reminders in my Google Calendar. And it's not complicated. So what it does is every night about 7:30, I've got one that says, verify that you have done any open platform jobs. Because what happened to me a few weeks ago is some guy sent me like 2 YouTube scripts, and I did the first one. I was tired. I went to bed. I'll do the next one tomorrow, and it slipped my mind. So I've got a reminder in there to check that twice a day to make sure I sent stuff. And that sounds stupid, but I forgot once, so I don't want to do that again. It was really embarrassing 3 days later for somebody to go, hey, are you ever going to send that other script? And, yeah, your $5 script is on the way. Sorry. But I got it. I don't want to leave somebody hanging like that. And another thing, going all the way back to voice overview again, is when you do a job in there, you have the option to show it as paid or invoiced or whatever. That is handy as all get out, especially if you're doing some direct business. I've got one that's been out there hanging a while, and I had sent a reminder a couple weeks ago, and then I decided Saturday, I said, I'm going to just I had their phone number. I'm going to send a text because I think he just forgot. And I sent it, and he said, well, I sent it to you when you sent me the thing last time. I said, no, you're probably like me. You forgot to hit send or something. But I said, no worries. I'm not in a hurry. I just wanted to make sure that maybe you didn't send it a different way or something. I tried to be nice. Well, within 10 minutes, he sent it. So, and it had, if you don't keep up with stuff like that, it can be a mess. So, yeah, get organized. Time blocks are great. They're great.
And on that topic of your $5 script is on the way, try not to look down on those people because, yeah, it's a $5 gig. Come on.
Right.
Nothing
right.
is only $5. That's
right.
a
That's
joke.
True. It's true.
But if you agree to do something for $5, do it as if you were getting paid $500.
I believe it. I'm with you 100%.
Put 100% into
Yes.
whatever the thing is, regardless of if you're getting paid, if you're not getting paid, if you're getting paid properly, or if you're getting, really, really underpaid.
It's just the running joke for all us VO guys, is it not? Is this not our running joke? It really is. But I don't know that any of us mistreat the people. I don't think. I hope we don't.
No, I mean, I'm sure we all gripe about, like, wow, what a cheapskate that guy was. But,
yeah.
At the end of the day, you took the job, so.
Right. That's right. You asked for it.
Right. But treat them right. Do the best you can. Go over and above.
Mm-hmm.
Do what you would do for somebody that was paying 10, 100,000 times that, because maybe they're going to come back with an actual budget.
That's true.
Probably not for somebody who's got a $5 gig, but something that's $50 or $100, they might come back in 6 months with $1,000 job or something. And they'll go, wow, I need to get some VO done. I've got some money to work with. Man, Troy did a really good job last time. I'm going to call him up and see if he's available. Right? If you did, the bare minimum to just get it out the door, well, they might come back, but they might go, that guy just kind of whatever. He didn't seem interested.
Right. They have always gotten the same sound, the same delivery that anybody else gets. I always make sure of that, because who knows who's going to run across your stuff out there on YouTube and recognize your voice and say, hey, isn't that song? God, that audio's terrible, And I have one that puts no background music on his YouTube videos. It is straight out my voice, and I don't pay any more attention to his than I do others. But it's always in the back of my mind that there'll be a big click, a pop, or I'll do something, forget an edit or something. So, subconsciously I probably pay a little more attention to that. But it's not a high paying one either. But yeah, I think so. And that might be another thing on our list right here. If you're giving poor customer service, you're going to fail.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're absolutely going to fail. You have to go above and beyond. And the type of customers you deal with, as you climb the ladder, it'll get better and better and better. You're always going to have some of those that are hard to please. I don't care what you do. If you sell ice cream, voiceover, horse feed, whatever you're doing, somebody's not going to like what you got. Yeah, absolutely. So, expect it. This is, I have been saying this kind of all along, this is an industry of expected failure, because you're always going to be falling short. You're not getting as many jobs as you want. You're auditioning for way more, and somebody doesn't like you and they like this other person. You're constantly being pushed down, but your customer service has to always be at the highest level, or you're just going to sink.
Yeah, well, and a big reason for that is the way that you actually succeed is getting repeat business, right? With any kind of service job, but voiceover in particular, and that's what we're talking about because that's what we're doing, but you're not going to succeed in voiceover if you're only doing one-offs. Right. You're just not.
Right.
You need a fairly sizable stable of repeat business, and it could be people who only come to you once every month, once every 6 months, whatever, but they're coming back.
At least
every time they need something, they come back.
Yes.
And if you get a couple hundred of those who, this guy comes back once a month, this guy comes back once every 6, this guy comes back once every 3, this guy comes back once a year, and this guy's like once every 2 or 3 years, doesn't matter, they're coming back, so it's business you're going to get again.
Right.
As long as you keep providing good quality product at a reasonable price with great service.
Right.
That's all you're doing. That's all you have to do. Provide a good product at a reasonable price with great service.
I agree. I didn't have this on our original list, but it just hit me as you were saying something. I'm not sure what sentence it was that planted this seed. A lot of us have done some directed sessions, maybe 1 or 2, not a lot, just a little. Here's another thing that will make you fail in a hurry, and I don't know any other way to put it. If you're a total jerktard in a directed session, if you're not, yes, sir, it's the same thing. It's customer service. If you're not, yes, I can do that. Sure, I'll read it that way. It doesn't matter what you think. It's their freaking project. They want it their way, and you're going to do it their way. And the best thing you can do is keep nodding your head and saying yes, sir, and biting your tongue. Yes, ma'am, I'll do that. Yes, sure, I'll read it again. How many times you want me to read that? 7 more times? Okay, I'll do that. No problem. It may run you nuts, but if you don't do it right, they will never call you back. And they probably know somebody if they're doing a directed session, not every time, but if it's a production house or an ad agency or somebody, they're going to know other people that are looking for talent. And they'll say immediately, don't ever hire that guy off of whichever.com or whichever WW this, because he is a total jerk. He won't do anything you tell him in a session. You don't want
Right.
that reputation. Absolutely
Yeah.
do not.
Well, and there's lots of other things we could talk about on that. You know, don't if you feel like you're messing up, don't stop. Don't say, "Oh man," or whatever. Just finish that thought, finish that sentence. Or if you screw up, go back to the beginning of the sentence, start over again. Don't go, "Oh, sorry." Or, you know, if you need a second to recollect, then sorry, just give me a second. And, you know, whatever. But then go back to the beginning of the sentence and start and keep going.
Yep.
You know, and don't go through to the end of a thing and go, "Oh, I really could have done that better." Because they might
love
get
it.
mad at you for that.
Yeah, and they may
Yeah.
love it. You don't
And
know what
they
they're
may have
gonna
loved
like.
it, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you think. Really, you're the monkey they're paying to say the words.
That's right.
And you will say them
right.
the way they want them said.
Yep.
And you know, it's very likely, very very likely that they'll throw something at you that just doesn't make any sense, or they'll have a really stupid idea, and whatever. It's their time. They're paying for the time. They're paying for the work. You do what they ask.
That's right.
And, you know, maybe after doing 30 takes of their stupid version of something, they'll go, "No, you know what? I think you were right. Let's go back to that first version. Just give me one more of those and we'll be done."
Yep.
And
Yep.
hopefully you can remember it, and,
Yep. That's right. That's right.
and then you get on with your life.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely works to follow direction. It's tough sometimes. I mean, some of this stuff is really vague. You know, we want you to be very conversational and this, and then we start reading and say, could you make it sound a little bit more like this certain voice on your demo, this one? And I'm like going, but that's the announcer voice.
You want the hard sell.
So they want it
fast
in
food
between.
voice.
I want your conversational announcer. But that's okay. You can usually find it, because if you'll change inflection a little here and there, and they go, yeah, like that. Do it like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, my favorite are the ones that are like, we want something that's really upbeat and energetic, but not too salesy. And it's like a 30-second spot, and there's, enough text for 45.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not possible to sound energetic and cram that many words into a thing without sounding salesy.
Right. 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 It's very
and,
hard.
Oh, by the way,
Very
let's be
hard.
conversational, too, because, that's the thing.
Yeah. Yep. Very true. But
it's fun, right? Keeps you on your toes.
It does. It does. The one of the last things we had down, and gosh, we're pushing into time, but we want to get all these out there to you because we're here to help. Don't sit back and wait for things to happen. An agent's not going to call you. And when the time comes for that, you'll know. But they're probably not going to call you. Probably not. Nobody is going to just hand you tons of work. You're going to have to work for it. And so please don't sit back expecting everybody on Fiverr to order from you or everybody on Upwork to contact you, and don't expect every audition you're going to send in. I'm only doing 3 a day because that's enough, and I should be getting these. I sound really great on this. Don't sit back and wait. You have really got to grind and hump it just to get your little piece of the pie, or you will fail. If you're sitting back and waiting, you're going to fail.
Yeah, and on the topic of directed sessions, which if you're doing well in VO, you will eventually be doing them if you haven't yet. Doing some workouts.
Mm-hmm.
Not only is it going to keep you sharp in terms of performance, it's going to keep you up to snuff in terms of being prepped for directed sessions, because it's effectively what it is, right? Okay, here's your script, and you read it. Now do this instead. Now do that instead. Read this line this way.
It's very
Give
similar.
me 3 in a row of this. Give me 3 in a row of that. Think about this character and, do it that way. And stuff like that. I mean, that's the same kind of things that you should encounter in maybe only in good directed sessions. Certainly not all going to be that comfortable and fun. But, I've done one, and it wasn't, I don't know, it was fine. It was a good experience, but it wasn't a normal directed session. It was a gig for a video production house in the Ukraine, and so there was a little bit of a language barrier, and I suggested, look, instead of going back and forth by text forever, because you're on a timeline and, I want to get this done. Let's just connect on Zoom and we'll figure it out.
Right.
And it worked out great. And the guy loved it. He was over the moon.
Yeah.
But
the one that I did for Shopify, and I had no idea where this thing was going. They had, of course, I read the whole 1.5 minute or whatever the script was, and they went over certain parts several times, and will do it this way, then do it this way, and I did, and they told me, you did really good job following direction. We appreciate your cooperation. Blah 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 blah. So I'd sent something a few weeks ago asking if they had a link to the final product or whatever, and I got it, and I went on YouTube and watched it, and there's like 30 people on there reading that script. So it'll be like somebody says a sentence, and I might say 3 words, and somebody else finishes a sentence. But it was really cool, but I had no idea it was going to go that way. So now I get why they had me working so hard on certain little pieces, because they already knew where they wanted to plant my tone, I guess. And that was really cool to see that. And I thought, hey, that was nice, because I think I had 16, 17 words on there and got really paid for a whole directed session and everything just for 16 words. It was really nice. And it turned out to be a pretty neat spot. And that's one of those things that we always talk about as you're building your demo. You can go grab that thing off YouTube and use it. I asked. They said, heck yeah, once it goes out there, it's public. You're welcome to use it. I don't know that I will, because, when all I say is 2 words or something, it's hard to plug that in. But it was a very well-produced spot. So, yeah, definitely do good in those sessions. And talking about workshops, I have not tried to Google this to see. I thought about Googling voiceover workshops, because there's more and more people doing this now. We are going to Voiceover Gurus, which we enjoy immensely, with JJ Wilson and Linda Bruno. We had, was it Mark Cashman that had the one we went to? Was that his last name? I don't want to get it wrong. I think that's right. I think it was Cashman. He has one.
Preston.
Mark Preston. Where am I getting Cashman? That's a whole different ball game. I know who that is now that I said it. Mark Preston. And there was one other, I can't remember who it was, but there are several other people I've been hearing on their podcast. They were going to start these. So it's really starting to catch fire. And I know you and I talked, and Danny States gave us one online you could sign up for. We'll have to go look back and remember what I wrote it down somewhere.
URL is, but it's a monthly voiceover workshop, and it's virtual. And it's like $10.
Yeah, it's cheap.
So you pay $10, and they post a script, and you take it and you do your read and you submit it, and then the cool thing is it's a different coach each time, and so whoever the coach is for that, maybe it's weekly. Whoever the coach is for that one, I think it's weekly, maybe. Anyway, yeah, VO Weekly Workout.
Yeah.
VOweeklyworkout.com.
So there's so many out there.
So they whoever the coach is, they review all the submissions and give you feedback. And some of them I went back and listened to some of the old ones, and some of them actually recorded feedback, so it was audio feedback, whereas others it's just a big spreadsheet and they type their notes in. But let's see, I don't think they're doing it yet. It's supposed to be starting up again soon. It says early 2021, which is kind of past now, but
I've got a couple of more names.
Hopefully soon.
I got a couple of more names. I don't have them with me tonight, but I will post those on our page tomorrow if I remember, or at some point after this podcast airs, so people can have some other choices. Because I'm a believer in, if you could go to a couple of those a month, and even if you don't go to the same person every time, go to this one, the first Wednesday, and go to this one the third Wednesday, and bounce in and out of them, and find who you like the most and who you feel like you're learning from, and then maybe go more often or more repetitively. But my gosh, what a bargain these things are. And as Will said, you are getting the essence of coaching and a directed session and feedback and all that, and it's really good. It's really good.
Yeah, and you get to see how other people interpret the same script.
Yes.
And what feedback they get. And you're not going to get that when you're auditioning. You're not going to get that when you're doing one-on-one coaching.
Right.
And
it's invaluable.
One-on-one coaching is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And workshops are basically group coaching versus one-on-one coaching. One-on-one coaching, you're going to get way more attention. But the class sizes on these are small.
Yeah.
And you're going to pick up plenty from the feedback other people are getting. Versus just
you sure
having everybody coming at you the whole time.
Yep, you sure will.
And I would say there's probably a lot of benefit, and I need to reach out more because I'm currently only doing the one with JJ and Linda, but there's a lot of benefit, I would say, to getting involved in many, because everybody's got different ears, different thoughts, different perspective,
right,
different experience,
right,
and so the more that you can work with different things and absorb everybody's little different tips and techniques and stuff, the better you're going to be overall.
Absolutely. And it'd be very interesting to see if you're getting similar or totally different feedback when you go to a different group.
Yeah, for sure.
That will be very interesting to see. Yep, sure is. Hey, we have what's it? Not that there's. I know we beat this horse to death, but there's lots of other sayings out there. We've scrambled this egg, or whatever we've done. Hey, I heard a great thing on audio, and Tim Tippett had said it on another podcast, and we hope he's doing well. I know you had mentioned that he had gone home, and that's
for anybody
that's wonderful.
Who hasn't heard, Tim had some medical issues and was in the hospital for a while, and there is still a GoFundMe available, so if you've got a little something you can throw his way, I know he would greatly appreciate it. He has been released, and he's on home care now, so he's back home, and he did post on his audition ready group on Facebook just how overwhelmed he was with the outpouring of care and donations and stuff, and he's just floored by how wonderful the community is.
I can imagine. He's a giver for sure. I mean, a lot of people say, well, he sells courses. Yeah, but look at the free things that he has out there on YouTube and all. I watched a thing one day of him just building sound panels. Exactly how to cut every piece of wood and how to cut your rock wool and put it. It was great. And he's a giver. He really is. But he's the one that said this the other day. He was talking about sending. He said, I have never sent true raw audio to anybody on an audition. But he said they can still work with it because all I've done is took out the bad things that they didn't want in there. I didn't over EQ it. I didn't put a bunch of crap in it. I just took out the noise. I made it as best as I could, good broadcast quality. But he said nobody has ever called me in all my years and said, why did you do that? I wanted raw audio. He said nobody. So, but what he said was, if you gas it up and you've got it over compressed and this, that, and the other, they can't fix it. He said it's just like scrambled eggs. You can't unscramble them.
Right.
Great point. Yep. So think about that.
And that's why actually I've stopped using this 4K mode on the solid state Logic because it does. It bakes it in. And it's the same thing with what is the other one? The UAD. Universal Audio, the Apollos and the whatevers that have, the built-in effects. That's great. It's convenient. But if you're using those, that processed sound is now your raw sound.
Right.
You don't have raw. You can't go back. You can't undo.
Right.
And, frankly, there's nothing that they do that you can't do in post anyway. So sure, it's saving you a step if you're going to always apply these effects, but if you need the flexibility to do other things, man, it's a lot of extra money it's a lot of extra money to pay to save yourself one small step in post. Yep,
I agree. Well, we want to send our best wishes out to Tim. Hope he's feeling better and healing and doing well, and we want to let everybody know out there on the ladder, we will be back next week with another topic related to your voiceover life. And We try to keep it interesting. We try to keep it short, but Will and I have this thing that we start talking about something, who knows?
Well, people haven't complained yet, so
not yet.
Maybe we should keep pushing.
Not yet.
See how far we can put.
Yeah.
Once we get into the multi-hour podcast.
Yeah,
then
wonder how that'll
people
be
stop
accepted.
Being interested.
Yeah, I listened to your podcast on my way to the Rocky Mountains. Okay, I got you. Not on the way to work.
Listen to the podcast on the way to Florida.
There you go.
And part of the way back home from Florida.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll be back next week. Hey, thanks everybody for listening. We really appreciate it. We were well over 740 downloads, and maybe that's not impressive, but to me it is, because we're just two guys who met on a Facebook page and threw this together, and then we threw our the page together, and people seem to be enjoying it. And I think we're pushing pretty close to 100 people on the page, aren't we? Pretty close.
Yeah, we're
in the upper 80s.
In the mid-80s, I think.
Heck yeah. I like it.
And that's since December.
Yeah, that's pretty good progress. Pretty good.
Yeah.
So
the podcast started in December, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Late November. I don't remember. You did 2 episodes without me.
Yeah, he always reminds me of that.
I'm not bitter.
Yeah.
I'm not bitter anymore.
Oh, me.
But yeah, the group started in mid-December, and we are, let me look, 83.
83. It's not bad.
As of today.
It's not bad. I've kind of watched a couple other groups that just started up in the last 2 months, and they're struggling along at about 30, 40 people. So I'm really pleased we've got that many, and we're not always as active as we should be. We get busy, but hey, if you need something, hit us up. We'll do what we can. We're never too busy to answer at some point, usually within a few hours.
Honestly, I think the activity in our group is probably average or above average for groups on Facebook, because there's a lot of groups I see that get like 1 post a day or 2 or 3 a week.
Yeah.
And we're generally getting 2 or 3 a day.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm proud of it. I think we've done well with it. It's we're not trying to make money. We're not trying to sell people anything. We just want to help you as best we can. We want you to participate. And heck, please come to the Thursday meetups. We're by no means a professional workshop, but you get an opportunity to do some reading. If you're brand spanking new, you don't have to be embarrassed. Everybody's there to help you. So join us.
Yeah, we run it sort of the same as a workshop, but we're not experts by any means. We have some work under our belts and some idea what we're doing, but the idea behind it is sort of peer coaching. So the idea is everybody's got ears. Everybody knows what they like, what sounds good to them, and everybody's input is valuable, at least to a point. Even brand new people who've never done any VO at all. They've heard the radio, they've heard TV, they have an idea of, yeah, that sounds believable, or whatever you said just sounds like a bunch of bullshit that you're trying to sell me on something.
Right. Right.
And pretty much anybody can say, no, that doesn't sound believable. You sound like you're reading off a page.
Right. Right. Right.
And that's 90% of it anyway.
Yep.
So,
and we've seen several people really make some progress over the last 6 weeks. So proud of that. I mean, because it gives them confidence to go on to the next thing, and that's all we're trying to do, give you a little confidence. And we also won't BS you. If you're not cutting it, we'll tell you, and we won't be ugly about it, but we'll tell you, you need to work on this, you need to work on that, and we'll give you some ideas on how to work on it. But
yeah, boy, that was always one of my biggest gripes about all these other groups is people would post something for feedback, and it would just be a parade of, wow, that's so great, you're so awesome, and congratulations, and patting them on the back. And come on, guys. Give some kind of constructive feedback. Nothing is perfect. You can say, that sounds great, but maybe you could do this, or maybe that, or I noticed this and it didn't sound quite right. And you're not doing it to be mean, you're doing it to help them improve, because people are posting these things for feedback so that they can improve. I think. I mean, maybe there's some people who are posting things just going, hey, check out this thing I did and tell me that I'm awesome. Sure, it's nice to hear that you're doing well. It's nice to hear that you're awesome. But if you've got no feedback or no constructive criticism or no information about how you can improve, well, that's just a waste of time. And, I've always given that kind of feedback to people, and I don't think everybody likes it, but, I don't do it in any sort of a malicious way. I'm giving honest feedback. When somebody posts a sample of something, I always give honest feedback or none at all. And typically I will try to find one thing that stuck out to me that they could probably improve on, and I'll mention it so that they at least hear from me, if nobody else, hey, look, I think maybe you could work on that one thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think we all hope to hear something like that. I know I do, because I want to pull what's wrong out and try to fix it or improve it. That's what this is all about, daily improvement. All right, well, join us next time. Join us on Thursdays at 8:30 at the workout. Hit us up on our Facebook page, The Voiceover Ladder. Leave us some comments here at especially I know on Apple and Spotify also, I believe you. I'm not sure, though. I know Apple
and
does.
I think Google.
Google, yeah.
Amazon.
Yep.
Probably.
So if you're listening on one of those, it looks like from what we're seeing, a lot of people listening on Spotify and Apple. That's our two biggies, I think. So thank you guys for that, and please drop comments. We may look at in the future, since we are able to record this as video, we may at the future we might can drop these into YouTube once a month or something if we plan for it. Yeah. So we can almost do it unedited and make it nice and clean. So anyway, we'll be back in a week or so.
Yeah, we can keep posting them to the regular stuff so people who are subscribed can see them there. Yep. And then we can also post the video on YouTube.
Yep. Sure. Yeah, it's kind of fun, because you wouldn't believe the things Will and I do while we're talking. You wouldn't believe the faces we make, the hand signals, you just wouldn't believe. Okay.
Nobody wants to see these faces made for radio.
That's right. That's the fun part. That's what I love about YouTube. I'll make you watch my ugly mug.
All right, we are definitely going through a Minnesota goodbye here, so goodbye!
Everybody,
so long!
Everybody have a good week. We'll check you next time on the Flippity Flop.
Ciao.
The Voiceover Ladder is available on Spotify, Apple, and Google. Be sure and subscribe so you don't miss an episode, because we may drop one at any moment. Do we know what we're doing? Not really. But we are learning and making progress, one rung at a time, as we all climb the VO ladder.
Thanks for listening to the Voiceover Ladder. This podcast is not instructional, but it's a conversational pile of opinions on what has or hasn't worked for some people. It's just advice, and nothing's guaranteed. And like life, you try some things out and you see what happens. We do appreciate you listening, though, and look forward to your comments on our podcast and ideas you might have for future shows. And until then, keep on grinding.